Xander, did you hear the news?
Unfortunately, I did. And, I thought we had put it all behind us, but I did, in fact, hear the news.
I thought it was all over. I thought it was done. It was call it a quits.
I thought
Career
the decision was
over.
made, but I think we are wrong based on today's news.
Crazy, right? It's the greatest of all time. The GOAT was finally going to move on to greener pastures.
I can't believe we have to deal with it for at least another year.
Does that annoy you?
A little bit, just because I know that my time is going to be glued to an electronic device now for a lot more than it would have been had it not been back.
Well, what are you going to do now that Tsip Talk is back? How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to Tsip Talk. I am joined by my brother, Alex Sippis. I'm joined by a Tsip Talk legend, our good friend, Alex Bauer. And today, making his debut on the show, my good friend, Jack Cappellucci. Cap, how are you?
Doing good, Pete. Finally got on, so that's definitely happy to finally be here. It's been a long time coming.
Now, we had this whole, or at least I had, I had a nice docket. I had everything kind of structured. We're going to talk about basketball and the NCAA tournament. We're going to talk about Oscars because we have our movie expert here. We're going to talk about some soccer, maybe some geopolitical stuff in sports. And then Tom Brady decides, I'm going to play football again because either he hates his family or, and this is what I think it is, his family hates him. because hear me, and before we get into the insanity of Tom Brady coming back after 40 something days of being quote unquote retired and potentially Cristiano Ronaldo spilling the beans, this is a guy who probably won't let his kids eat a strawberry or have any sort of sugar or trans fat enter their body. So this is usually the time that they're always kind of bothered by him. March is after the Super Bowl, daddy's back. And then after a month, they realize he's kind of annoying, but then they can look ahead and go, you know what? It's okay. Because another season's going to come around and we're going to get our break. I bet Tom was extra obnoxious as a father these 40 odd days. And then Giselle and the kids had a moment of realization going, oh no, we're not going to get our break this fall. Oh no. And I bet they pushed him over the edge, being like, are you sure you're done? You can get maybe one more season in there. You don't want to end off on that note, do you? Losing to Matthew Stafford, do you really want to do that, Tom? Because in Seeker, they're just they need a break. I that's why I think they want him to coach or do a sports show in a completely different city during the football season, have him commute, because I think in the Brady family, there's too much Tom.
Now, Pete, when you said we were talking about giant returns, I thought we were talking about Rutgers making their first tournament appearance since the 1980s. Tom Brady completely taking the news day away.
I still think he's pissed at Schefter for breaking the news.
He's going to retire again in a week.
No, there's no doubt in my mind that after the Schefter story came out, that Tom was like, I'm going to play one more. And 45, it's always been the number, right? That's always been I'm going to play till I'm 45. And then he also said, I'm going to retire when I suck. And he clearly doesn't suck yet. So, I guess why not? But I think the funny thing about it is that about 2 months ago, whenever he first retired, all the other fan bases of 31 teams kind of tipped their cap to him, finally admitted football won't be the same, and kind of gave him his due. Brady sat back, took all of it out, and then was like, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to come back. And I love it. I love it. And it's crazy that anyone could grow up in the state of Massachusetts and not root for Tom Brady, Pete.
Now, here's something that Pete, my girlfriend Jordan, and I were discussing just quickly after the news broke. The guy that bought Tom Brady's final touchdown pass.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Got to be steaming.
$500,000, right?
Yeah, $500,000 for the last touchdown, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can think of one person who's even more mad than the guy who bought that football. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
The look at me, Larry, the look at me, Louis himself, who just wants the attention. You thought Russell Wilson stole your spotlight. Now the guy that you're trying to quote unquote dethrone, even though he never will, because let's face it, Rodgers, Super Bowl? No. The guy that you have played second fiddle to your entire career in terms of being the quote unquote GOAT. You thought you'd have this league all to yourself now. You have it. You have it in the palm of your hands. You know what? I'm going to stay in Green Bay, Wisconsin, even though I keep trying to make a muck of things. But Tom's back. Back in the same conference. Because I bet if Rodgers knew Brady was going to come back and join the Buccaneers, he would have been, get me out of here. Get me in the AFC. He wouldn't gone to Denver, too many good quarterbacks. He would have been a Titan.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is definitely pissed off. I think Roger Goodell is definitely pissed off. I think he was finally ready to not have to be smiling and talking to Tom Brady all the time and finally kind of move on with the new face of the league. And honestly, I think the biggest winner of this, we talked about the guy who bought Tom Brady's touchdown pass. What about the guy who sold it for $500,000? And then less than 24 hours later, Brady is coming back. Like, that has got to be one of the best coincidences.
Maybe Brady sold it.
Insider tradings of all time, right? Like, that's crazy.
The biggest losers here, Carolina Panthers. One, they have to face Brady twice again. And two, they're in it for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I think
two L's.
And Deshaun Watson, where's he going to go now? A lot of people were saying Tampa was like one of his top landing spots that he liked.
Not jail, which is pretty surprising, to be honest.
Yeah. Did you guys see that Adam Schefter thing?
It's like, bro, you're breaking news. You like
he basically called Deshaun Watson a hero.
I don't follow Schefter anymore. Something rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, it's probably defending a guy who 22 people said sexually assaulted him.
Well,
yes.
When the whole Washington football thing was going on in like September with the allegations, something that kind of got glossed over is that it came out that like Adam Schefter, like agents and owners basically like pay him to release news in like a certain order.
He's a mouthpiece for the NFL. So
yeah, like, It's like he's not a journalist, and that's what was annoying about this. Is like, you're not a journalist, so why the hell are you putting an opinion on this, on the Deshaun Watson thing? Like, you are not a journalist,
and just like a wrong opinion too.
And anytime he's on TV, he just like states the obvious. Like, they'll have the Tom Brady breaking news returning to the Buccaneers, and he'll just go on TV and just say, "Guys, I just want to say that Tom Brady is now a Buccaneer." And it's like, well, thanks for telling us what we already knew.
I think my favorite response I saw, it was on Twitter to the Deshaun Watson news, or it was a response to Schefter's tweet on the Deshaun Watson news. My favorite thing I saw was someone who said, "Oh, I can't think of another NFL star who wasn't proved guilty criminally, but then got taken to the cleaners in civil court." O.J. Simpson.
Like, I think you're talking about Ben Roethlisberger.
We could have gone into a lot of different ways there.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like, I mean, in theory, he should still be suspended.
Who,
like,
Deshaun?
This is the NFL. Yes. What are you talking about? Did he bet on a game? Did he smoke weed?
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Yeah,
he's on the field.
Like Big Ben was suspended for, I think, 6 games, right?
Yeah.
And Big Ben back with his
Ray Rice was suspended 2 games, and there was like video evidence. So it's like
the most
Brady was 4 games.
Yeah, the most disgusting part of this all is that in September, like the NFL is going to pitch that like redemption arc story, or like the whole like, oh well, he lost a year of his prime, so we don't know what type of stats he could have. Is this going to affect his Hall of Fame career?
One of good personal friend. There's a lawyer named Dan Lust, who's a sports lawyer, and he thinks the way the NFL is going to go is basically say, you lost your year, there you go. But that's ridiculous to me. Like, he wasn't suspended by the league. The team didn't let him play. So I don't understand why an NFL punishment still shouldn't be coming down.
It wasn't even the
NFL
team.
didn't suspend him.
The team
I
didn't
don't think,
want
right?
him to play. He walked away from the team before this even broke.
Right.
He said he wouldn't play for the Texans and wanted to be traded, and then this broke.
Did the NFL
he wasn't
say
on
he
exempt
was
or anything?
he wasn't exempt or anything, right? Yeah. Was he paid?
I do love, well, not love. I do find it ironic that, these last few weeks in terms of, Russia invading the Ukraine and everyone trying to step up and say, we're not going to let Russia compete in this and in that and Russian athletes and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, like we're not going to let Russian athletes compete. We're going to take a stand. But Deshaun Watson could be playing football in the fall, and Trevor Bauer could be pitching in like a few months.
So Deshaun Watson, I just looked it up. He made his full base salary this year, $10.5 million, and that number changes to $33 million this season coming up. So
he was paid this last year that he set out.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, he should be suspended by the NFL. It's ridiculous. He lost a year of his prime. No, he didn't. He got paid. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's not like he lost a year of his prime because he like hurt his leg or whatever. Like he was
tear his ACL. Does Pittsburgh make sense? The Rooney family clearly doesn't have an issue with quarterbacks in this situation. I mean, do we think that he could become a Pittsburgh Steeler and go to the AFC North?
No, they want to draft that pick quarterback.
Oh,
yeah, Kenny, whatever his name is, go for it.
Yeah.
I would love for them to do that.
Kenny Pickett, more like Kenny Pick 6. Heyo.
Heyo.
Moving on to college basketball, which is the thing that we wanted to get to, but Brady had to ruin our lives by being Tom Brady. I want to talk about Coach K.
Please.
Because him just
you need me to get Anthony Caputo on this? I saw him bowling this weekend.
No, I do not want Anthony Caputo.
You know he does opposition research for a super PAC?
I did not know that. I'm assuming he's doing the little inside baseball for the audience. I've never even met this kid, Anthony Caputo, but he's a Steelers fan. And he didn't go to Duke, but he is a Duke fan, which means he is the worst type of person to grace this planet Earth. Other than that, let's talk about Coach K getting absolutely embarrassed at a game that people were paying like 60 grand for, his final farewell, and then had the gall just to criticize everyone, to tell everyone to quiet down. This was embarrassing. If you didn't want to be embarrassed, don't do the whole tour. Everyone love me. I'm Derek Jeter, and I'm going to have a Derek Jeter ending because I'm the greatest college coach ever, because people forget that Pat Summitt was a person, and love me, praise me, love me. I'm going to have all my former players come, even though it's only like a handful out of the hundreds I've coached, because I'm not a very likable person, and I'm going to let my grandson get away with a DUI with Paolo. I have had enough of Coach K. And for UNC to purposely lose to Virginia Tech so they wouldn't get the grudge match, and then to have VTech just embarrass them in the ACC tournament final, was just chef kiss amazing. And I cannot wait for Duke to not make the Sweet 16.
All right, so I'm going to field this year. I'm more of a Duke sympathizer than anything. They've won me a lot of money in 2015. That team going against Kentucky in March Madness, when every single person, it actually started before that. My cousins went to Maryland, right? A lot older than me, the JJ Redick era of Duke. So being the little shithead 5-year-old I was at the time, I would actively root for Maryland to lose to Duke whenever they played in the ACC play, back when Maryland was in the ACC. Followed that up with the Kentucky undefeated year, and Duke ended up winning the title that year. And every bracket in my bracket pool, except for mine, had Kentucky winning the championship, which is just bad decision making by anyone making a bracket to pick the team that everyone else has winning it, right? That's just
and the team that had Drake doing shoot around with them. It's not a recipe.
Drake was
for
in
success.
film with them.
It's a recipe for failure.
and a coach that loves to underperform in March too, but I digress. So when it comes to Duke, I've always been looking on the more lenient side and probably the one person in the world who doesn't hate Grayson Allen. And I think they're fucked, right? Like they're not gonna win this team anytime the slightest bit of pressure, besides that Gonzaga game at the beginning of the year. They don't play good when they need to, like at all. Even in the ACC tournament, you look, they lost in the championship. It wasn't pretty getting to the championship either for them. Like they really don't look good. And who do they have? They have Gonzaga, UConn, Arkansas, Michigan State, Texas Tech. Like they have that is the toughest section. I looked at the bracket when it came out like a couple hours ago. Like that is an insane freaking section. And so do we really think that there's any chance Coach K is going to get out of this section? No, right?
No.
By the way,
absolutely not.
I lied. Duke, at least according to my bracket that I made right here, Duke will make the Sweet 16. They will just lose to Texas Tech. So apologies for saying Duke will lose in the second round, even though they could to Alex Bauer's Michigan State. Could be a close one.
Tom Izzo built for March. And I think that is, now that we're talking about college basketball, the most interesting section of the bracket, right? Does anyone disagree there? You have Tom Izzo, Coach K.
No, I think that's the most interesting. I was pretty kind of bored, to be honest, looking at this bracket this year. Mm-hmm. I like pick some underdogs just to pick some, but like, I mean, I haven't watched a ton of college basketball this year, but
I'm going full homer, and I hope that Michigan State gets blasted in the Sweet 16 or Elite Eight. If we could end Coach K's career, that would be. I don't care. We could lose 70-15. I don't care. Just beat Coach K.
Davidson's a tough first round matchup for Michigan State, though. Like,
yeah, that'll be tough. And I mean, Texas Tech is filthy. They're one of those teams. They're going to be a hard team to beat.
They play some of the best defense I've seen.
Yeah, I was going to say they're one of those teams that even if they're not hitting all their shots, they can still make plays on defense and just create possessions in transition.
I would like to see Gonzaga, just because I feel like it's been coming and they're always like a perennial favorite. So it would be nice to see them kind of finally do it.
And I dislike that tall kid on Gonzaga.
Chet?
I dislike him.
You know who I dislike? Grayson Allen. That's who I dislike. Fuck that guy.
I think he looks malnourished. I don't get how he's so good. And he gets me upset. But counter argument to that, Drew Timme might be the coolest guy I've ever seen play college
100%.
basketball.
100%.
Yeah. Did he not I couldn't believe he didn't get drafted last year.
I don't know. Did he go through the draft process?
I don't remember. I
don't think so. I don't think so. I think he wanted to come back.
To come back? Yeah, I thought he said too.
I want to hear Pete's Arizona take. Number 1 seed. How are we feeling there?
Over in the South region.
So here's the thing about Arizona men's college basketball. They did not win a March Madness game while I was there. Freshman year, DeAndre Ayton lost to Buffalo by 20 in that first round game. Sophomore year did not make the tournament. Junior year had a very good team, but then the pandemic hit. Last year was this team weren't very good, and we had a postseason ban. That's why if Tommy Lloyd does not win Manager of the Year, people just aren't watching West Coast basketball, because everyone's like, well, Tommy Lloyd inherited these players from Sean Miller. Yeah, he inherited this team that was average last year, and now they are the second best team in the entire country because Tommy Lloyd is our Ted Lasso. Yeah, I have this Arizona team making the Final Four. I want to win a championship so bad. Like you guys know how much I love sports. Like this is my number 1 team. I love Arizona basketball. I am incredibly irrational about Arizona men's basketball. I watched the final at a pub last night and I was screaming like anytime there's an and one or a big 3 was hit, probably pissing off the people on the table next to me. I did not care. There was alumni with me. It was a great time. I don't want to lose to Seton Hall. That would be my worst nightmare. Fuck Seton Hall.
I agree. Here, let me break out a little thing for Mr. Capolicci.
It's a pretty weak bracket for
quick little stop in South Orange. This guy did. Okay.
Seton Hall.
Yeah.
This is
No longer. I
this
will
is
not
an
be rooting for Seton Hall either.
This is an audio medium, so thank you for showing a Seton Hall T-shirt. That was fantastic. Hey, look, I got Chattanooga in my Sweet 16. You look, anytime whoever wins the Southern Conference, I usually put in the Sweet 16. This time it's the Mocs. Usually it'd always be like Wofford or Furman. So I'm picking the Mocs to go to the Sweet 16. Arizona's got to go through.
You're going
them.
against Cockburn in the first round?
I am. Overrated.
Scott Coffey was still there.
Yeah. And
good.
Wasn't good enough against Christian Coloco early on in the season. My Arizona Wildcats, that's okay. No, I'm legitimately terrified because this team is something special. I had zero expectations for this team heading into the season. This has been potentially the most fun team that I've ever rooted for. Maybe second to the Nick Johnson, Caleb Tarzuski, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, TJ McConnell, Gabe York team. But no, I love this team. This is a great group of guys. I love Tommy Lloyd. I'm excited for what this Tommy Lloyd era is going to be. We're off to a flying start, but I'm legitimately terrified that we're just going to be Arizona. The only thing that gives me hope is that we are on our side of the bracket. There are also teams notoriously for choking out of the tournament. Villanova's on the side, is in this quadrant. Tennessee, who we lost to earlier this year, we get a little grunge match. They are recently always underwhelming into the tournament. We have Loyola Chicago. We don't know how long Sister Jean has left, so you don't know. Honestly, I would be a little worried about Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers, if we end up seeing them in the Elite Eight. If we see Illinois again, I think we could beat them again, but we won't see them because Chattanooga, Sweet 16, book it. I want to be excited, but there in the back of my mind, there is just constant pain of being an Arizona Wildcats basketball fan. Like I can't.
Wichita State.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. We went to see them play my junior year of high school, and they lost to Wichita State badly.
So there's one team in the South region that I think you didn't mention that must have been a mistake. Why you didn't?
Oh, the Cougars.
And that is the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens.
Oh.
Hey, listen, we're just happy to be here.
Is that their pennant on your wall?
Oh yeah, I'm still at Delaware. This is coming live from you from Newark, Delaware.
Oh, I was gonna say the road goes through Newark.
Oh yeah, it has been a madhouse here. The basketball team brought the trophy to the bar this weekend. We're like just big enough of a school where it's a lot of fun state school, but just small enough of an athletic school where like the athletes, like they're really not like larger than life humans here. And the basketball team was bringing the trophy. People were buying shots for them, and it was a madhouse. And now we get to play Villanova, who's 15 minutes down the road, 30 minutes down the road. I know they're going to beat us by 30, but if the Hens cover, that is just as good as a win for me.
I was running around looking for my Colonial Athletic Association championship shirt, but I can't seem to find it. I think it's in the laundry.
Yeah, what happened to Northeastern this year?
I think they went 2-15 in conference play.
Yeah,
after being the preseason favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've been to the tournament a couple times in the last couple of years.
Definitely.
And I think they were the preseason either 1 or 2.
Yeah, Howson was supposed to be the team, and
I think they won like 2 games in conference. It was not good.
Yeah. So Pete, I got a question for you. Who do you think, aside from Arizona, because I like Arizona, and after the speech you gave, I'm literally editing my bracket as we're talking right now, and I think that they're a final.
Well,
hang on. Yeah, let's like in a good way or a bad way? Because
no, I think I like Arizona. I think I have them at least in the Elite Eight, probably the Final Four. Does Tennessee scare you, that rematch game?
They don't, because I've seen Tennessee in the tournament the last few years, and they're always very underwhelming. I was at a barbecue place in Glendale having the best barbecue of my life, and I watched Loyola Chicago knock them out in like the second round. Like I don't trust Tennessee. Do I hold a grudge that Tennessee was my safety school and they rejected me? Maybe, but you know what? I'm all business. That's a total lie. I'm not all business.
What?
I barely watch. The only college basketball watch is Arizona. I'm picking schools based on like I do a little bit of research. I got Richmond in my Sweet 16 because I saw them play in the A10 championship a few nights ago, and I said that if they end up winning this tournament and making a run, that I will put in my Sweet 16, and they did. Won it as the 6th seed, and now they're a 12 seed. They have a guy whose last name is. Give me a moment. I'm blanking on his name.
Well, I'll fill in for Peter.
No. Hang on. I got this because I'm a college basketball expert. Jacob Gilliard, doesn't matter. Number 0, short guy, veteran guard play, dropped 30 against rivals VCU, a little Richmond Derby at the Capital One Arena. How about that? Yeah, I got my beloved Richmond Spiders in the Sweet 16. Beautiful campus and beautiful school.
I'm gonna follow you up on that because I love Richmond's campus as well, and I saw they have 4 super seniors on their team, and as a 12-5 matchup, I like a little 12-5.
Are your spidey
upset.
senses tingling for this team?
I'll pick Richmond for sure.
No, Jack, you're a big college basketball fan. You know who's going to get absolutely slapped at some point is going to be the Providence Friars.
They're losing in the first round. They're losing to South Dakota State. This team is not serious. They're the most fraudulent. They're the most fraudulent, like top 10 team I think I've ever seen.
Clutch rating. Yeah, you went 10-1 in like 5-point games. It means that you suck.
But their 5-point games are against bad teams that they should be beating by more, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's what I'm saying.
That's like when we like cheer on like Duke or Kentucky for like winning a buzzer beater in conference play, but it's against like Boston College or like Georgia. You know what I mean? Like it's like, what are we doing here, Providence? And full disclosure, I do have Providence futures to win the title, $5 for 400. So if they do prove me wrong,
Yeah,
They won't.
They won't. No, they won't. Obviously, they won't. But it's a New England school.
They lost to 30 to Creighton.
Creighton too. Creighton. Who do they have? San
Diego State
out in West. Yeah, and then they get Kansas. 1 seed gets bumped in the round of 32 every year. Would that be the Jayhawks?
Don't say that because trust me, we know who the 1 seed that would get bounced in the second round is.
Hey,
technically round of 32. The second round's now the first round.
Yeah, that's.
But you might lose in the second round as well because you're Arizona.
True, but I will say I also picked the Jackrabbits from Brookings, South Dakota, to beat Fraudvidence. Yeah, Fraudvidence.
I think there's a real chance that Pete. I don't want to make you any more nervous than you already are. I think Arizona is going to go to the Final Four now that I'm like really looking at this bracket.
I hope so. I would. They have not been to a Final Four since I became an Arizona fan at age like 9 or 10. Like the last time they were there, I was a toddler and didn't know what Arizona was.
Well, wait, I'm just looking. So Connor Gillespie is still at Villanova.
I had no idea. I was watching the Big East tournament. I'm like, that kid was probably there when I was there. He actually wasn't, but like he's been there forever. And now if I may just interject a little Big East play. I watched my first Seton Hall basketball game from start to finish in probably 5 years against who are they playing? Whoever they got knocked out. I think was it Creighton? I don't know. Whoever they lost to.
I think they lost to Creighton.
Was it? I think it was Creighton. Not a single thing has changed under Coach Willard. That when it is not going well for them, they just start hucking up shots and they don't fall. Like they will just constantly. When I was there, they would constantly just have first halves where they score like 22 points. And that's what I think they scored I want to say like 22 or 18 against Creighton, but it's just the same shit. There's no chance they go anywhere.
All right. What do you guys think about the Baylor region? I feel like no one's talking about Baylor right now.
Because it's a boring region, and I really think all these teams are underwhelming.
It's all teams that I hate, so I'm blocking out of my mind.
I have UCLA coming out of that region.
I have Purdue coming out of the region. I can't. I have UCLA losing to St. Mary's. Like I won't pick UCLA. I won't. I'm sorry. I hate Tiger Campbell. I hate ATN. Best was U of A fans wearing ponchos next to the UCLA player tunnel during the championship last night. That was hilarious. For the uninformed, UCLA had a player that spat at our student section earlier this year and was criminally charged in Tucson, and he has a court date, and that's hilarious. So they wore ponchos because they're in the splash zone.
Okay, so who do you guys have Final Four?
So my Final Four is Gonzaga, Purdue, Arizona, and Auburn. And then I have Auburn winning the championship against Gonzaga. Coach Pearl.
I have Gonzaga, UCLA, Arizona, and Auburn. And I have Arizona over Gonzaga because I'm a good little Wildcat. Bear down.
I'm going with Gonzaga. Who's the three? The Purdue, Wisconsin, and Arizona. Big Ten all the way. And then I'm going with Zaga.
All right, I'm gonna go
for sure.
I'm gonna go full heel here then, and I'm gonna say Coach K gets to the Final Four.
Oh God,
Duke.
Mute him, Pete. Mute him.
I'm gonna go. We're gonna get a coaching legends / heels matchup. It's gonna be Coach K versus Coach Cal.
God.
Make it. On the other side, you're going to get Arizona and Auburn. And I think we're going to get the Blue Devils and the Wildcats in the final. And Coach K will crush Pete's heart and send him home crying and get a rigged tournament, walk off into the sunset. And the last time Pete will see Arizona at the Final Four for like 5 years.
If you think that this is the end of the Tommy Lloyd era after 1 year, you're highly mistaken. We're only going up from here. I think the last time Arizona was in the Final Four, we lost in the final to Duke. The fact that you guys actually have Arizona going to the Final Four, it's flattering. It makes me really happy. It makes me really happy. It makes me really happy.
Bracket is so easy.
Makes me really happy that people believe in my dearly beloved team. That being said, you're all suckers. We have our movie expert here, Alex Bauer, and another movie aficionado, Jack Capilucci. Let's get into some Oscar talk before we bore the listeners with more sports talk. Alex Bauer. Alex Bauer.
What's up?
What is your hottest Oscar take heading into the award ceremony?
Do you want nomination take, or do you want televised ceremony take? Because I got both.
Let's start off with a nomination take, and then we'll do televised ceremony take. So nomination take first, please.
For nominations, best actress is going to be a woof kind of category. Right now, Jessica Chastain and Nicole Kidman are probably the two front runners, and both those performances, obviously this is all like opinionated, but for me, it's just, I'm just over actors just like playing real people and getting nominated. Like there's nothing really to that. It's just like a bunch of like copying and kind of boring performances. So Jessica Chastain, she played Tammy Faye Baker in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. And Nicole Kidman played Lucille Ball and being the Ricardos. I don't know if any of you guys saw those both movies. They're fine, but it's like nothing really that special. So for me, I'm hoping Penelope Cruz in Parallel Mothers does a little upset. That would be fantastic. And then for Best Actor, I just watched this recently. It was my last check mark for the nominations. Andrew Garfield, Tick, Tick, Boom. Awful. I have, okay, so I don't think Andrew Garfield per se himself is bad. It's that movie that's really bad. And the point of that movie for me was like, he was so upset that he was not great at 30. And I kind of resent that idea because you're just having high hopes for yourself and just putting really bad anxiety on yourself. And it was just one of those movies you just walk away and it's like, I just hate that guy. And I you know, he also plays a real life person, Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent. And you know, he tragically passed away in the 90s. And so you don't want to be like, oh, that guy's, I don't like him, but you really come across like, I just do not like this guy at all. But it is a love letter to like the musical theater and live theater. So there's a lot of theater cameos of actors who have been in Broadway shows before. So it's like fun for that aspect, but I just don't like that movie. He's getting some buzz, but it's probably Will Smith's to lose for King Richard playing the Serena Williams and Venus Williams' father, which I don't know. Have any of you guys seen that?
Yeah, I saw King Richard. I actually really liked it. I thought it was probably Will Smith's best performance. Yeah, what was the last time he got any award buzz? Was when he wasn't nominated for Concussion, right? Was the last time Will Smith was being talked about for
Probably for Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah, okay. Around that time.
Which is like 15 years ago.
Yeah, so it was Pursuit of Happiness, then he didn't get nominated for Concussion and he made a big deal about it. And then now it's there. And I think out of those three, I actually really like I think the acting job in King Richard. It was really good. I really liked him in that. And then I thought it was funny how Alex was talking about it is a big year for real people, like looking at the best actress category. Kristen Stewart also is nominated for playing a real person again. And so it really is like it's becoming kind of a lot of that where movies are either blockbusters or biopics, it feels like. Yeah, or remakes. And speaking of remakes, I think that low key, a hot take I have is that despite what happens in the other award shows, I think that the Academy could rally around West Side Story. I think that's a real possibility, even if like Belfast is probably going to be, I think is the favorite right now, right? You'd say.
Yeah, it's probably Belfast or Power of the Dog.
Power of the Dog, yeah.
Those two have definitely been winning the most of this kind of smaller ceremonies so far. But Coda also has been sneakily winning some important
Coda's won a
categories.
lot of stuff, like a lot.
Yeah. So that's kind of my sleeper going into the Oscars ceremony, which would be a kind of cool win because it is a smaller movie. It's also an Apple Plus movie, so it would be the first streaming backed movie to win Best Picture, it's a kind of a huge deal and a kind of a knock to Netflix, which I'll take any day. But I have less hot takes about who wins Best Picture, just because out of the 10 or so that are nominated, I mean, I liked 7 of them. So I mean, it is what it is for that.
How did Don't Look Up get nominated? Is that just like Adam McKay?
Adam McKay. Yeah.
The one nominated movie I saw, I enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like it. I don't.
It's too on the nose.
And it sucks for him because he wrote it before COVID. But
right, but still, it's still on the nose even before COVID too.
Yeah, I mean, I found it even obnoxious as like someone who's very passionate about like climate change and stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I didn't think it should be a Best Picture, but I think it was getting a lot of hate, and I don't know the hate.
Yeah, the hate was, half,
Right. I enjoyed it. I thought the best, who I loved in that was the guy that played, I don't know the actor's name. It was the guy that played like the kind of Steve Jobs guy, like the tech company CEO. I can't remember.
I don't know the actor's name, but exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, he did a really good job
hilarious.
because anytime he talked, like my skin would crawl. Yeah, okay, so we're doing fine now.
Oh, okay. Mark Rylance?
Maybe.
Peter Isherwill, that's his character's name.
Yeah, just always like showing the teeth and kind of just like I remember there's the one scene where for no reason he just like sniffed like a secretary's hair as like someone is coming up, and I'm just like, this is so spot on where you can just do subtle creepy things and no one cares because he's a tech billionaire. I liked Don't Look Up. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, like I felt bad for Adam McKay that he wrote this thing before the pandemic, and like I listened to some interviews that he did, like he had to cut stuff out because he thought it was too on the nose. Like it could have been even more on the nose. But I will say I haven't seen a ton of these movies that are nominated this year. I did see Coda and I loved Coda. I would love if they win Best Picture. And it was a movie that I really enjoyed, and I took ASL last year, and I thought it was just I think it was educational to learn about like American Sign Language and that community. and two, like it's like I was laughing. I was a bit of a tearjerker at some points. The singing was really good. Like I thought it was just, and it didn't drag at any points either. I thought it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, Coda. I would echo Pete's sentiment there. Though I do want to say the one thing about Don't Look Up that I want to say is Adam McKay. He wrote and directed The Big Short 5 or 6 years ago, and I think his style of humor bodes well for like topics that are really challenging. Like I still don't get what The Big Short is all about. I think something with a little bit more understandable, like climate change. I don't think the comedy works as well because it's like we all know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
I felt that way. Have any of you guys watched the first episode of the Lakers show he's doing right now?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's on Apple. Oh no, it's HBO Max.
HBO.
Yeah, I need to figure out when I want to do my trial for it. What are your thoughts on it?
So it's really good. It's really good, but like the beginning, it's a lot of talking to the camera and kind of like dumbing things down. And being someone who like knows the history of the NBA, like you guys would go into watching it and being like, okay, come on, like almost like let's get going here. But I feel like he does do that a lot with like The Big Short, the other guys, like a lot of these movies that are like even like in his comedies that are kind of more meta, like he does.
even with Vice.
Yeah, Vice. Oh yeah, 100% with Vice.
But I do want to talk about the broadcast a little bit, just because that got a little divisive a couple weeks ago so we're kind of at a crossroads of viewership and how to attract more people to watch this, and so the Academy made the decision to cut 8 awards from the live broadcast on ABC. So what's going to happen is the Oscars are going to start at 7, but they're not going to start being televised until 8. And from 7 to 8, those 8 categories are going to be awarded. And then throughout the regular broadcast from 8 on, they're going to do like flashbacks to those winners and kind of show who won. I think that's really stupid. It belittles those categories. It belittles the people that work on those categories. And I don't know about you, but I was like, for me, I'm watching the Oscars regardless of who's nominated or not, just because I love movies so much. But to kind of have to say to fans of movies and to people who want to watch this, hey, we're going to cut categories out. It might just drive away some people. Just be like, they don't care about these categories. I'm not going to care about these categories. And the other thing too is, so these categories that are being cut: animated short film, documentary, film editing, makeup, original score. Like these are categories that not a lot of people think about or really dive deep into. And this is a chance for the Oscars to kind of showcase this and be like, this is what editing is. This is what goes into hair and makeup. This is what goes into film scoring. But just cutting it all out is kind of a stupid move. But it is what it is when we in this kind of network TV world that we're living in now, which is stupid.
Yeah. So going right off of that, apparently the Academy kind of came out and said that the network actually told them that like you're cutting out. Like it wasn't initially the Academy's choice, but the Academy chose which categories they would do it with. But the network like came out and told them like, this shit goes on too long. We need you to cut things out. And when you look at these awards, like people are like, the initial like posts and stuff are the quote unquote small awards. There's nothing small about the awards they chose to cut out. Original score, that's like a very big award that I feel like a lot of people like know about and like whatnot.
Hans Zimmer's nominated. He's as big as you get.
Arguably the biggest name, top 3 biggest name: Hans Zimmer, John Williams, and Alan Silvestri. Like these are guys that everyone who knows who like
Absolutely.
watches movies, like casual moviegoers, know. Makeup and hairstyling, again, another one that's like a big category that are usually big movies are nominated in, and it's just crazy to me that they're adding a fan choice award.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have like performers and stuff, but they're cutting these awards. It's crazy. Like, and the reason, and they're adding this fan choice award, which is like the biggest, most bogus thing I've ever seen. They're essentially like giving the excuse for blockbuster films to not be films and to be like amusement park rides instead, because they're like, oh yeah, you're not even gonna be a Best Picture nominee. You're gonna be a Fans Choice nominee, which is just insane and like asinine. And I think that definitely sends the wrong message to like it's kind of like dumbing down big movies, and it's giving big movies an excuse to be CGI fests.
Oh, for sure.
Which I think is like, because I think if you take a look at like Marvel Studios, they're going to be like, why would we produce something that's going to be along the lines of some of our more artistic, like some of our better written things, when they're not even going to get any acclaim? We're going to make $1 billion no matter what. Let's just make a bunch of Ant-Man 2s and Captain Marvels that are just going to be, who cares, action.
You got to follow the money. Isn't ABC like isn't like Disney a parent company of ABC? So I'm sure Disney's like strong holding them, like working Spider-Man somehow, because that was the biggest movie of last year. I just thought it was funny that the statement they released, they being the Academy, said that we want to shorten the ceremony to allow more time for comedy, film clips, musical numbers. Who watches the Oscars for musical numbers? Like, I want to watch the Oscars because I want to see like the film editor to have a huge passionate speech about how he loves film editing or how she loves film editing or all that stuff. It's like, I don't want to watch Beyonce perform. I'll watch the Grammys for that.
Yeah, people come to the Oscars like to just like watch the awards and to see who wins. It's for that, and like the opening monologue are the two things that really I feel like it's obviously who wins, number one, and then people like the host. And the two things that the Oscars have done terribly is they've moved awards off and they haven't had a traditional host
right
in 3 years, and now they're doing 3 different people hosting, and one's like Amy Schumer, right? It's
Amy Schumer, Regina Hall, and Wanda Sykes, who
like how are you so out of touch that you think that like when middle America says they hate like liberal elitists, like it sounds dumb, and then you see Amy Schumer's hosting the Oscars, and you're like, wow, it is right on the money. Like, how out of touch are these people making the decisions?
I can't imagine Amy Schumer making jokes about like Drive My Car, which is a Japanese film that's nominated for a bunch of awards, and it's just like you just get the sense of like, yeah, you have no idea what you're talking about, you know. And it's just like having a host there who like actually knows these movies, knows the people, is such a plus. And it's just like,
it needs to be like Hollywood royalty almost, and even a comedian would do way better than her, or she is a comedian, I guess.
Wow, shots fired.
That was cold. That was mean. Amy Schumer is kind of a comedian. But
I actually enjoy Wanda Sykes as a comedian. I just don't know about
she's all
Oscar
right.
host.
She's not
Oscar
like
host.
It needs to be like the biggest names in Hollywood need to be hosting the Oscars. Like
Yeah,
before, there were the last few hosts they had were Kevin Hart, who didn't make it on stage, obviously, with the controversy. They took him away from hosting. Before that, it was who? It was like Chris Rock did it, Jimmy Kimmel did it. Like people who know the people in the crowd, who can make these jokes, who've been around the industry for such a long time, and also to appeal to everyone, right? Like you don't want middle, like how is middle America going to react to this?
I think Kimmel is a type of guy that's a good fit. One, because he's on ABC, he's on the parent network, but two, like I think like late night talk show host is like a Jon Stewart, a Jimmy Kimmel, or whoever would be perfect, because it's literally their job to interview these movie stars when these stars are promoting their films. They do it 5 nights a week. They're talking to these people. They have a research staff that tells them every night, hey, they're promoting this movie. It's about this, this, and this. So even if they haven't seen the movie, they know what it's about, because 3 months beforehand, they were either talking, or if it's Jimmy Fallon, playing like water balloon darts with the supporting actress.
I think the host is really, really important for what you said, the opening monologue. You have to nail that 100% to lock in the viewers, to attract people who are just tuning in, to want them to stay. I don't think the host is that important for the entire broadcast, because it's, you just want someone to kind of move the show along a little bit. But for that first 10-15 minutes, when it's just an opening monologue, absolutely.
And do you want to listen to Amy Schumer's 10 to 15 minute opening monologue about I don't know what, because I haven't seen her in anything in forever, but like, I don't know. Part of me just thinks they should go full heel and get Ricky Gervais to come over from the Golden Globe. Since
my God,
we'll never have him back over there.
The other problem is none of these people want to. I'm sure they contacted like 50 people, and Wanda Sykes was like on list number 62, person number 62 for them.
Yeah. But like, you tell me that like they couldn't even get like Colin Jost and Michael Che.
That would be good.
God, that would be amazing.
Like maybe it's an ABC, NBC thing. They wouldn't want to have them on. But
the
I don't know.
the thing that for me that the Oscars need to do is they need to lean into the movies more and not the show more.
Definitely.
And
And Hollywood.
and
Hollywood's awesome.
absolutely. And they have a brand new, or not brand new, I think it's been open for a year or so, but they have a new museum and archives that they've been dying to showcase. They should have part of the Oscar telecast, like go behind the scenes a little bit and showcase what's in the museum, movie history, costumes, and all that stuff. I'm in the of the opinion the Oscars should be 5 hours long. Like, let's just have like a mega show where it's just like we just go all out. We see have all the nominees talk and get to know them a little bit more. But obviously, I'm just that's for me.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to keep the average American in tune for that. But there's no reason that there should be musical numbers at the Oscars. That is,
Oh my god,
that is the last thing that we need.
Yeah.
Like, they should be
100.
maybe interviews and behind the scenes of your. I'd much rather watch the stunt choreography for Spider-Man than watch Beyonce perform. You know what I mean? And I think
I
that
agree.
a lot of people.
I agree.
Why don't they like kind of lean? I mean, it's ABC doing it. ABC, obviously, or Disney, the parent of ESPN, who loves alternate broadcasts. So why don't you have one of the Oscars? Like, you can have your primetime Oscars, sure, right, from 8 to 10, 8 to 11, and do all the quote unquote what they view as their big awards during that time. But why don't you just start the Oscars earlier on
On a streaming platform? Hello.
Sure, why not? Disney Plus, whatever
Yeah.
it ends up
Only
being. Whatever
Disney
ABC.
owned two of the biggest streaming services on the planet.
Yeah.
Only that they had a children's one and then an adult streaming service as well.
Right.
Well, here's the other thing I was thinking about the other day too is, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I mean, the Oscars were our way of seeing celebrities. You know what I mean? Like, we tuned into the Oscars to watch people walk the red carpet, to see them, interact with one another, to see them give speeches. Now with social media, I can go on and see Olivia Colman any day that I want, or Jessica Chastain, or Will Smith, or Denzel Washington. And so there's a little bit of that luster that it gets lost with social media. So embrace social media now. Have to go Instagram lives, have Snapchats, or have Twitter threads or something like that. Like, embrace that now.
That's kind of the other thing about Twitter is, I mean, if I don't watch the Oscars, let's call it 12 years ago, let's just say 2010, 2008, whatever, right when Twitter was kind of beginning. If I don't watch the Oscars, I don't know until the next day in either a Yahoo article, a newspaper, or a local news station. I can find out within seconds whoever wins, with push notifications, with just Twitter, with whatever. So I think one of the problems that they're facing is that like you watched it to see who wins. I have 30 different ways of finding out who wins instantly.
Yeah, and part of the magic is too to see the speeches and see them kind of celebrate a little bit too. So it's like one thing to know who wins, but it's another part to kind of see the celebratory nature of it too. Everyone dressed up. You can rate who's dressed the best and all that stuff.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is I think that a couple of the problems that Hollywood has right now is
I like it. We're going deep.
Well, there's a lot of problems.
We can. This is opening a can of worms.
Getting these big name A-listers. We're also kind of in like a generational shift here, where a lot of the people who since like the mid 90s have been the A-listers are starting to become in their 50s and 60s, and they're kind of aging out of it. And there's not really, with the age of social media, where kids aren't trying to grow up to be an actor. It's a lot of musicians, social media influencers, like that next generation of stars. Like, sure, you got your Timothée Chalamet and like you like people like that, Florence Pugh, like people who are pretty famous. But a lot of the next generation of stars are doing blockbusters, and obviously don't knock them for that. But they need to find a way to make these big movies, like not even big movies, but these award-winning scripts and these very talented directors in their movies, profitable for stars to go in and profitable at the box office again, which since COVID, the past 2 years, we were in a pretty big renaissance of Best Picture noms in 2018, 2019, the two award seasons before COVID. And COVID hit, and it's going to be the industry kind of, a lot of those theaters went out of stock, and a lot of these small movies are going straight to streaming now. And because of that, you're losing a lot of these big movie stars that are now just doing Marvels. They're doing stuff like that. They're doing even HBO shows. Like people are doing different type of stuff now. How do you get the best actors to be doing the best movies? You know what I mean? And it's hard.
15 years ago, that Lakers show is a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
And now it's a TV show. So we have to kind of see where the world is shifting, and it's becoming limited series or TV shows in general. So you're right. How do we get those big stars back to feature length productions?
And I think a lot of that is the only people who are going to the movies right now coming out of the pandemic are young people. Obviously, in the past year, like people who are old and people who are freaking COVID, I forget the word, it's a thing we say, immunocompromised, aren't going to the movies, right? And so the only movies making money are these big blockbusters. And I love blockbuster movies just as much as the next guy. I will go see any Marvel movie on opening weekend. I will go see any of these, like James Bond, like whatever. I love it. But if the industry just moves to a space where that's all we're getting is that or streaming movies, we're screwed. And like things like the Oscars aren't going to be fun for people because they're not wide released. You have to have a certain subscription to see some stuff.
I'm going to zag a little bit here and say this good thing about the streaming stuff right now is we're getting the movies before the Oscars. I mean,
that's true.
Again, I don't want to go back to 10, 15 years ago, but that's kind of when this all kind of changed. But like all the Oscar movies came out after the Oscars. And so no one knew about them except for insiders or critics. Now, I mean, if you are looking at the best pictures, I think you can watch most of them right now. And that's hugely important. So that's definitely a plus side for the streaming side. But I agree that, like we need something that's not just IP where it's just, oh great, here is Doctor Strange's buddy who gets his own movie now, and it's just like what? But we need to definitely find some room for the original content to get.
Yeah, and to Alex's point, like one thing that is really well is the Oscars have kind of like the festival schedules kind of shifted a little bit to let. Like 1917 ended up being released like 2 weeks before the Oscars when it was a festival release in like November. And so that's good. But the other thing is like no one goes to the Oscars anymore. Like the red carpet is everyone's like accepting awards from like fucking Venice and stuff like that. Like Leo is with like a bunch of 18-year-old girls in the Mediterranean Sea. Like the biggest movie stars and it needs to be the biggest night of the year. And it really doesn't feel that way anymore.
We're gonna have to wrap this up right now because we just recorded for a long time. This is gonna be a fun post edit. Jack, Bauer, Xander, thanks so much for joining me. It's been great to record a new Sip Talk. Welcome to season 2, baby. We're officially in season 2. What's your final thought?
Tom Brady is regretting dropping his news tonight if we're dropping this tomorrow morning.
I'm Pete Tsip. This is Sip Talk. Thanks for listening.
Save 15% on tickets with SeatGeek code.
Promo code SIP. You can figure out how to spell it.
Promo code SIP for a beautiful website on Squarespace.
Does that ever become problematic when you tell people to listen to Sip Talk and there's just a fucking T in the beginning? Like, do people ever just like text you and they're like, I couldn't find your podcast?
You think people are actively trying to listen to this shit? That's flattering. I wish people were texting me saying I can't find this podcast.
Well, they can't find it because they don't know how to freaking spell your name, dude.
Hey, there is a sticker on a toilet at the Middle East downstairs, okay? They know where to find it.